just wanted you to just respond to comments from Carl Froch saying he should retire if he loses Dillian White on August 12th. Is he putting that pressure on himself?
Man, I mean, people in England are full of shit. Like, how do y'all talk like y'all act like y'all got 29 world champions? Did Carl Froch quit when he lost to somebody? What's the Anthony Joshua quit? So, like, it's crazy. I mean, what's the question?
Is he putting pressure on himself?
I don't even think about it. Nobody, listen, man, you can't be around me and think about losing. I don't believe in that.
And those are the words of Derrick James as he responds to Carl Froch and the negative things that he said, especially if Anthony Joshua gets beat, he should retire. He says that, first off, let me counter something, okay? I don't want to be speaking for people necessarily, but I think maybe Derrick James meant Carl Froch is full of shit, or some people in the UK are full of shit. He said people in the UK are full of shit in general. And I think, and people should feel offended by that, because it's like, hey, you don't want to classify a whole society of people by one person's comment. And that one person is Carl Froch, not the UK public. Okay? Just let that be known. So I'm kind of like, okay, I think Derrick meant this. But if he was talking only about Carl Froch, he's absolutely right. I mean, Carl Froch is a guy, he does call it like he sees it, though. He is brash. He's not a, what do you call, he doesn't filter his words. He doesn't hold back what he means to say. He says exactly what's on his mind. But I just think there's a special place in his heart for AJ to say something about AJ, okay? I think that's what that is. I think at the end of the day, I think Carl Froch, with the McCracken stuff, Rob McCracken and, the upcoming and the upbringing, the things that he knows. I mean, there are some arguable points and reasons why he should be. We'll talk about that later in another interview, but I think that Carl Froch needs to understand that Anthony Joshua has done a lot in the sport, which Carl Froch has mentioned, but you have to really look and compare to what Carl Froch says about AJ versus everyone else. Now, he talks about everyone else, but he adds a certain little incentive with AJ. You can tell. Okay, for example, he'll say stuff like AJ needs to get his head out of his ass. You don't really hear him say that with other fighters. You know what I mean? Or, I don't have anything to say about AJ at all. Okay, well, for one, you just said that, you don't have a lot to say about AJ at all. And it's kind of like, okay, well, you're mad at AJ. And I think really what it is, don't pretend to be consistent when you accent a certain fighter and you put an extra on that fighter and you're extra harder on that fighter and you talk a little bit more about that fighter than anybody else. And I think him going to talk sport, though, honestly, shows that they love the idea of them talking shit about AJ. That's why they bring him on. He's the AJ shit talker. I'm on the AJ shit talking committee, right? I'm on the AJ shit talking crew, right? That's me. Carl Froch. That's who. Bars. You know what I'm saying? So I think, he's keeping his name in there by talking about AJ because AJ's name is everywhere. That's how you do it. It worked for Deontay. It worked for Tyson. It worked for Andy Ruiz. But Andy actually fought him and beat Anthony, to be fair. So, he did a lot more than that. So, but Carl Froch stating that, that Anthony Joshua should retire and how Derrick responded. I think Derrick is on angst anyway because his fighter that's undisputed is going to fight one of the pound for pound best fighters in the world in the same weight class and the champions in the same weight class for all the marbles at welterweight. So, yeah, I think he's pretty he's pretty amped right now. He's nervous. He's anxious. He's, I think, he's agitated. So when he does hear anything about his fighters, and his fighter is Anthony Joshua, he's going to have something to say, and he should. That's why I think that energy, that nervous energy that's coming from this fight to come tomorrow, okay? I think that remark stemmed from that. I think that remark came from that energy, okay? That all UK people are full of shit. He didn't say all, but he did say UK people are full of shit. So, you know what I mean? It's safe to say, well, hey, you can take what he said for cash value, but then again, you could be reading into it. But then again, you could listen to what he said, and he said exactly that, didn't he? You know what I mean? But I interpret that as Derrick James really getting pissed off and really defensive of his fighters, because, again, he has a reputation to uphold. He has something that he has to keep going because he is at the very top. Derrick James is where Carl Froch was maybe 10 years ago. Remember, he was the fighter of the year. Remember that? So he's where Freddie Roach was. Because Freddie Roach was the guy, wild card Jim, Hollywood. That's where you wanted to be, right? And everybody was trying to flock in there to see Manny Pacquiao, right? Get it in there and throw those quick, hyper fast combinations. And Freddie Roach was guiding him every step of the way. And I think that's where Derrick James is today with his fighters, So in a couple hours, well, in about an hour, I will do, a special segment on Derrick James's dream team. You guys stick around for that. But you also tell me what you think of Derrick James responding, ripping Carl Froch, saying that he's full of. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been Counterpunch. Peace.